Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. I am Wiggle and this is a build video. More specifically, it is a Berserker's build video, or at least my take on a Berserker's build. Now, for those who don't know what the Berserker's effect does, it basically, the description on the weapon is lower damage resistance increases damage dealt. And what that means is you get a flat 50% bonus at 0 damage resistance. So if your damage resistance is 0, you get a 50% bonus off the base damage of the weapon. That drops off very quickly though. So if your damage resistance goes up to 1, your bonus goes from 50% to 30%. And if your damage resistance is over 60, the bonus is 0. So it goes off pretty quick with, non-significant amounts of damage resistance. Now that does only apply to ballistic resistance. Energy and radiation resistance have no effect on this perk at all. So you can have, high amounts of those and still get the full benefit from Berserkers. Now, would you play this? Why would you play Berserkers in the first place? There are more downsides than upsides. I mean, the downside of Berserkers is, the first one is obvious. You don't have any kind of damage resistance from armor. So that is, that's a big hit. It's not as bad as it sounds at first, but it is a big hit. You also don't have any legendary benefits from armor. So like AP refresh or poison resistance, things like that, harder to detect while sneaking, weapon weight reduction, you get none of that. So that is I think that's the biggest downside, honestly, of playing this way. And the damage gain that you get from Berserkers is no better than what you would get from Junkies or Aristocrats, and those are much easier to maintain. I mean, you can still wear armor with those and get all the benefits, and the downsides of those aren't really insignificant. So there's that. And poison resistance, like there's really not any way to get that with this build. Like in Fallout 4, Med-X gave you poison resistance, and it doesn't in this game for I don't know why. So there is that as well. So why would you play it? Well, I like the simplicity of the build, honestly. Like I started this as an experiment because I wanted to know what it would be like. I mean, if you could actually make a playable character with no armor that would actually not die all the time. And so I was expecting this to be a temporary character that I would eventually just get rid of once I was done experimenting. But yeah, I like the simplicity of it. It's so... You don't have any armor to maintain. If I go into a nuke zone, I just put on a hazmat suit. I don't lose the benefits of armor because I don't have any in the first place. So it's very simple, which I like. And I am aware that there are ways to kind of cheese it. You can wear broken armor to get the legendary effects and stuff. But my goal wasn't to do that. My goal was to basically do a vanilla kind of version of this where you didn't wear armor. I wanted it to be very simple. And frankly, it is very fun. This is one of my favorite characters to play. I enjoy it a lot. So let's get to the build part of it. Now we'll start with the legendary perks. You can see I'm still, this is still a work in progress. I don't have follow through maxed out. The main, the first goal on this was to get legendary specials maxed out because of all the defensive perks that we needed. There was deficiencies in other areas, mainly perception, honestly. So initially when the character was, in the early going, I was distributing perks to defensive areas, and which left, I think perception was started out at like 3 or something. So I didn't have much in the way of damage output. But now I have an extra 20 special points to put around. I mean, the specific legendary perks don't matter. It's just about having those extra 20 points to move around as I want. And then what rads, which you can make an argument that you really don't need if you're using a hazmat suit. But I don't wear it most of the time, so it's kind of nice just to have that rad resistance all the time. And I really like that perk, so that's why I put it there. Now, as far as the build goes, I started off with defensive perks. So there's blocker, obviously. You want that for to keep the melee attackers from doing too much to you. And then I wanted as much health as I could get so that I could take a lot of damage. So there's the 15 endurance, and then Life Giver on top of that gives us another 45 health. So, and then Chem Fiend to extend the duration of chems, which you have to be careful with this build, because there are chems that will give you damage resistance, which will, hurt your output, your damage output. Photosynthetic for some free healing in the daytime, adamantium skeleton to eliminate limb damage, and fireproof to help protect you from explosions. Tenderizer for extra damage, but then we have Lone Wanderer, which reduces incoming damage and gives you AP regen, which is, they're both helpful things. I do run on teams a lot of the time, and if I do, I just swap in Inspirational and Strange in Numbers for Lone Wanderer. First Aid to give the stim packs so they get as much benefit as possible from stim packs. Action Girl, obvious reasons, that helps with AP regen, and we all know how beneficial that is. Covert Operative, extra sneak attacks. Born Survivor, and I only have this as rank 2. I've played around with rank 1, 2, and 3, and found this to be a pretty good balance. In terms of not letting, because sometimes your health can go down significantly, like from miniguns or from big shots of poison from a Mirelurk Queen, and I found that having it kick in at 30% is a really good, kind of a good balance for that. It doesn't kick in too soon, and it doesn't kick in too late. So and then Dodgy, obviously, for reducing incoming damage. And then we have let's see, Grim Reaper Sprint is also another one that's anything that'll help us get AP back. So, and this actually will pair very nicely with our weapon. Ricochet, which is nice to completely avoid damage on occasion and even direct it back. Starch Genes, obviously, to keep our mutations. And then Critical Savvy at this point is kind of a placeholder. Legendary Luck was the last perk that I maxed, or the last legendary perk that I maxed. And I wasn't quite sure. I could either put it's not really a crit build, but I could still do crits. I could still do them. It's just not really a maximized for a crit build. And so I could easily move those 3 points to strength and maybe put Traveling Pharmacy or something to help us with our carry weight. But for now, that's where things stand. Now, as far as our mutations go, we are running Carnivore, which I ended up getting like right at level 30 before I'd actually done any serums. We just got it from just ambient radiation, and I just kind of kept it. I mean, the benefit from Scorch Beast meat is pretty good, especially Scorch Beast lung, which gives you an extra 6 agility solo or 8 if I'm on a team, and so that's pretty good. And I have grounded because 100 energy resistance when it doesn't affect the Berserker's effect. So that's kind of nice. And I don't use energy guns, so there's no downside to it. And then Speed Demon. And that's it. I don't tend to run a lot of mutations anyway, so those are fine. And then our gear, I have a Fixer. Berserker's obviously reduced action point cost, and also replenish action points on kill, which combine that with Grim Reaper Sprint, it means we can have like a mob of enemies, and something like Distant Thunder, something like that, I can just stand VATS the whole time shooting Scorched because the AP just keeps coming back. So it works very nicely. Now, there are times when the AP kind of drains. Like if we're under attack from a bunch of enemies, Dodgy will do its thing, and our AP will just drain away, which means VATS doesn't work at all. And so for those spots, we have a Handmade, which I just find Handmaids to be much easier to aim by hand than a Fixer. It just has so much less recoil. And also, this particular Handmade is a Vampire's faster fire rate, reduced AP cost Handmade. And so the other reason for this is enemies like a Mirelurk Queen, we will totally wreck us. Like I have died to Mirelurk Queens a number of times because that poison will just take such huge chunks of your health that by the time Born Survivor kicks in, you're already dead. So yeah, so that's why I have this. Having that is nice. And then I also have a Berserker submachine gun explosive. The only reason I really use this is for tagging enemies in something like Radiation Rumble or something. And it's not really the best tagging weapon. I mean, using 45 ammo for tagging is kind of expensive. So I'll probably switch this out at some point for like a 10 mil pistol that's explosive, something like that. And also something that's lighter. I mean, you can see Berserker's the submachine gun is quite heavy. So anyway, let's see. That's that covers the build. That covers the gear. That covers everything. So I guess the next step is to kind of showcase what what this character can do. So let's get to that. All right, so here we are at Huntersville. And I should be able to stay hidden pretty well. I mean, the fixer gives good stealth, and I also have a Scorch Beast Lung going. So, and I'm not on a team, so I don't have any strange numbers or anything. So, but 6 agility. So right now our agility is 21, which isn't crazy, but it's good enough to stay hidden. Whoa, right there. See, we can almost run into him. But you can see a couple enemies. AP is still pretty fully charged, so that's good. Mutant Hound meat, yeah, that's only good for like combat or for melee people, which I am not. This is definitely not a melee character. With only 3 strength, we're not going to do much. Yep, you can see there's quite a few. So we'll do some tougher enemies, but I want to show you what it's like if I actually get discovered. Yeah. See, so I'm being shot at. A little bit. Oh, they're not that. They're pretty oblivious. There we go. So you can see Ricochet does its thing. I mean, obviously I'm taking damage. And I may even die. Nope. Alright, so Born Survivor kicks in. So I survived that pretty well. And that's me not, basically intentionally getting shot. So if you're trying to avoid damage, and then I can just kind of pick them off as I want. But as you can see, I'm not trying to avoid damage, and if I'm trying to avoid miniguns, on the other hand, that's a whole other story. Because miniguns inflict damage so quickly that they can sometimes they can drain you quicker than Born Survivor can save you. But as you can see, I mean, it's not, these obviously aren't max level super mutants for the most part, but they're not a whole lot of trouble either. Even if I get discovered, even if they shoot me, I'm still okay. Yeah, the biggest problem with this particular character in terms of that is eviction notice. Like eviction notice because there's just so many miniguns. You get a couple of mutants honing in on me with miniguns, and I'm just toast. Like, it's not... I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, oh, I do okay. No, I just get crushed. I mean, there's just not... There's not much I can do. Even using a vampire weapon, they just take damage so much faster than I can regenerate it. So, yeah. But as you can see, even taking in damage, it's not that big of a deal. Not having armor. Right. So here we are at Max Farm. Not a location I tend to visit all that often. And it's mostly just Mirelurks, I think. So we're not going to worry about them. But there is a Mirelurk Queen in the middle, and they are full of poison. Now, I don't use... I think there are anyway. Now, I don't use grenades, but I did pick some up off a dead super mutant, because I think that's the only way to wake her up. Uh-oh. Maybe not with those. Maybe I need an explosion. Alright, why don't we try this? Why don't I run around? There we go. So I'm making this as bad as I can make it. So I got Mirelurk, Queen. But I'm using... So I've switched over to my Vampire's Handmaid. Yeah, this is going badly. So let's get out of here. And I have no AP, but Born Survivor is keeping me alive. So now I'm in caution, so maybe I can get away. Nope, now I'm in danger. So this is obviously a pretty nasty situation. But vampire weapons can help. Oh, Mirelurk. See, a Mirelurk King is almost worse than a Mirelurk Queen. There's Born Survivor keeping me alive again. Yeah, actually, not carrying grenades worked against me because I had to put myself in a bad spot just to wake her up. But you can see that poison does a number. But, yeah, we're doing alright, I guess. I mean, if this is alright. Things could be worse. We're still alive. Alright, so she's dead. Now we just have a king out there that's out for blood. You can hear it all, but anyway, I'll sort that out. But as you can see, we survived a Mirelurk Queen. A vampire weapon was good enough to keep us alive. You know, no armor. So that was pretty good. Let's see here. I guess, yeah, I guess the king lost track of us, and I'm okay with that. So let's get out of here. All right, and here we are at pylon, what is it? V13. And these are down here is about where you're going to find pretty tanky enemies, I think, just in general. We got a behemoth over there and fog crawler and some high-level super mutants. As you can see, we're taking hits from a missile launcher and doing okay. You will die. And our VATS, you can see our AP is actually doing just fine. And a behemoth is not a problem. And there's one around here. But yeah, that fixer's... Oh, I'm in danger from something. Something sees me that I don't see. That's always fun. But, as you can see, even... Oh, there he is. There we go. So, as you can see, even in like really tough locations with tough enemies, I mean, I think the Mirelurk Queen's probably about as tough as it gets, especially for this character, just because of the poison and we really don't have any natural resistance against it. And Funky Duds doesn't work. Funky Duds only works if you have a full set of matching armor, it doesn't consider no armor matching armor, which I think it should. I mean, there are some changes I would like to see to the to just Berserkers in general with, you know, from Bethesda, because you do have to take a lot of risk, and the reward isn't, you know, when you're only getting a 50% damage bonus, I don't think you're being compensated enough for the what you're giving up, because you are giving up a lot. I mean, there's no lie, but it is a lot of fun to play. But I do think I've shown enough. I think you kind of get the idea of what this character's all about, what it can do. And I think I didn't leave anything out. At least I hope I didn't. I'll probably think of something after I'm done with this, but that's okay. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions about the build, or if you've played one and you know how you do it differently than I do it, what you think, yeah, please let me know. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.